Anyway, I need to introduce you to my mate Chris. This is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hello, brothers.
So I thought it'd be great to have Chris to come up and share a bit of his story. So we'll just crack on straight with it. So why don't you tell us a bit, let's kick off with childhood, upbringing, where you come from, what life is about when you were a kid, and moving on.
Okay. Yeah, I come from a tiny little place called Leicester. And we finally got in the Premiership. Can't believe it. What? I heard some boos then. Anyway, yeah, my childhood was really mixed because of all the jobs in the world that my dad could have, he had to be a copper. Now, it will become obvious why later, but my childhood was a mix of waiting for the bell at 3:30 to go, running the gauntlet through the kicks and the punches. I got absolutely battered nearly every single day because of my dad's job. That led me to being really nervous. I couldn't even talk properly. The mere fact that I stand here in front of you guys is amazing because I had for years and years a really bad stammer. I couldn't even say a word. And I was that nervous. So early childhood was really tough. I wasn't very good at school. The class was dyslexic. And in the world, they like to whack a label on you. Well, I got that label and a pencil and a pen, and I was put to the back of the class, forgot about. But I was good at football. And as I developed in my childhood, I got signed for Leicester City. And thankfully for them, I weren't good enough. And all seemed pretty well, really, up until that point, apart from all the bullying and various stuff.
So what happened then?
I came home from school one day, and to be told that my grandma, she was going to die. And we didn't really see her that much, so we didn't really register. And at that moment, I heard this gargling noise from upstairs. So being young, 15, thinking that sounds a bit odd, I'll go and investigate. When I walked into my dad's bedroom, there he was, on the floor, having a massive heart attack. He was purple, he'd weed himself, he'd pooed himself. And in the days before casualty, where you can do all this stuff, I didn't know what I was doing. So he literally died in my arms, basically.
Oh, so how many years ago was that?
I was about 15 at that point.
Okay, so obviously that's massively traumatic, deep impact on your life. So essentially what happened then? What did that take you into as a result of that?
The first thing I remember being told is we come from a Geordie stock, our family. And me and my brothers, we were the run to the litter. We were born south of the River Tyne, so we didn't really count. But anyway, the first thing that hit me was anger, hate. I got overwhelmed by this sense of uncontrollable rage. Because I'd never been brought up to fight, I'd never been brought up for violence. But I suppose at that point in my head, I declared war on the world, and I declared war on God.
So how did you start to work that out? How did you start to deploy that, and act on that? What happened?
Very quickly, within a month, my mum, she was on the phone to my dad's old police colleagues, trying to get him in to talk some sense into me, and I just went off the rails. I joined a local gang in my area, postcode gang, and I started to fight my way through my aggression and hate.
Okay, so was this a football gang or a street gang?
It was a normal street gang at that time, yeah.
Okay, and so you're about 15 at this point?
Yeah, 15.
And then I believe you started to mix in with another group of people during that time, or a little around that time?
Yeah, obviously the football career came to an abrupt end, because attitude and playing football, mind you, actually thinking about it, attitude and football do go together. But it kind of didn't then. I felt alienated at home. I didn't feel part of the family, so I looked to find another family, and I found that down the football, got mixed up with all the local football hooligans, and all of a sudden I thought, I've got a place now where I can really get rid of some of this aggression, and I got involved in organised football violence.
So this is pretty full on. This is arranging street fighting, gang fights, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how we even managed it. This is before mobile phones and slightly after Morse code. So I don't know whether we did smoke signals or I don't know how we did it, but the police were never there. You know, things are different now, but there we go.
So how many years were you involved in that?
Up until I was about 21.
What happened then?
Then I kind of had a bit of I call it a fling with God, because I kind of started to question what I was becoming, and I can only put it down as a fling with God because I tried my hardest to be this, because deep down all I wanted to be was this little lad, little Chris, a loving little normal kid. That's all I ever wanted. But each time I tried to be that little kid, this monster used to rear up and kind of take over. And I kind of had this little fling with God, and I married a Christian girl. And I suppose, can I hand on heart say that I left the world behind? No, I didn't, because I used to beat her. When she used to mouth off at me, that monster would rear up, and I could never shake it. The law of being pulled back into the world was just too strong.
So this is around in your early 20s. Thanks,
Cheers,
Swanee. This is in your early 20s. Marriage, things going a bit wrong, violence in the home, violence in your day-to-day life. Is it around that time you encountered another family, another group of fellas?
No, not quite.
Later?
Yeah, but
take us through the timeline.
Basically what happened was I ended up having my first mental health section. Now, it was quite an amazing time really, because I actually found that I got free prescription drugs, very strong ones, which didn't cost me any money whatsoever. And the longer I was there and the more I misbehaved on the ward, the more I got. So it kind of was a bit of a game. I started to manipulate the system.
Okay.
And so it was quite a few years of in, out of mental health institutions, then going back to the world again.
So what age did that sort of finish? Or did it just continue on and on and on and on and on?
It was on and on and on and on, okay, right up until literally 15 months ago, really.
So take us back a few years from here, because you got involved with some extreme people, didn't you?
Yeah. I started to get, when I went back into the world, when I'd let my wife down and walked away from church, walked away from God, I don't know whether I let something really massive come into me at that point, because I just turned into this absolute monster. I went back to the football for a bit, started to follow England as well, started to knock around with various guys, and someone approached me and said, we need lads like you in the British National Party. We need lads who are ready to fight for the country, right, and start making a stand on the streets against all these foreigners and everything else that was coming in. So you can imagine at that point, I'd fight anything.
That sounds really attractive, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
New band of brothers, use your fighting,
yeah,
get your anger out.
Yeah.
So you're into the BNP.
Yeah.
How long?
Pretty much, until I fell out with them a few years ago, but quite a while.
Okay.
But I even managed to, there's only so many leaflet drops you can do, right? It becomes boring after a while. And I stood for council, and I know two blokes spoke earlier, one from the Tories and one from Labour. Well, I actually beat both of you. as the BNP, which was quite an achievement at the time.
I think I'm going to text them that later. That's quite funny. Okay. So, from what I remember you told me, you got a bit frustrated with the BNP, fell out of them. Was that because they weren't full on enough? I mean, what happened?
Well, it was, I call him One-Eye Nick Griffin. Very, very plumb, overly educated voice, but an absolute thicko when it came to being strategic. And I said to him that you'll never achieve anything through politics. The only way you'll ever achieve anything in this country is to start taking it to the streets. At which point I was told to back off.
Okay.
At which point I told him to off.
So you're basically saying we got to take violence into the streets and change the nation?
Yeah.
So who did you get involved with to get that out there?
What I did was I then got involved with groups like Combat 18, the British Freedom Fighters, but I also set up my own group, British Resistance, because the trouble with the far right, with the Nazi neo-Nazi skinhead movement and Doc Martens is they're just so thick, and I wanted to create a new far right. I wanted a stealthy far right where we actually made war and took it to the streets, because all the media and all the press were telling us about all these terrorist incidents in our country. The lads are fighting all over the world against terrorists, yet we're supposed to put up with all the rubbish in our streets. That was my mentality.
Yeah.
So we started to take it to the levels of threatening to blow police stations up. I committed attempted murder 3 times, just attacking people for their skin colour, attacking do-gooders, attacking gays, anyone really.
So basically hate.
Yeah, absolute hate.
Hate everything,
Yeah.
anger, rage.
Yeah.
What was life like? I mean, we've known each other about 18 months ago, 15, 18 months ago. If you could describe what life was like a year and a half ago, your mentality, your emotions, where you're at, how would you sum it up?
I'd come to the point of brokenness when I go back to that point, because I'd managed to get out of the gangs. I'd managed to get quite a bit of help with people like Gasker. This man here, Mr. Paul Gask, he's one of my heroes, because when everyone else forgot about me, people like him never. And I just want to give him a round of applause. My brother.
And Gasky was a policeman. He was a policeman.
Ex.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference.
The X is important, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was completely broken by this point, because what happened was, once you get rid of all your racist stuff, you're then left in this huge chasm of guilt. You then start remembering about your missus. You then look at your... I remember my son, who I used to push away, and I pushed everyone away emotionally because I felt I had to be this hard man. And I remember one day what started to change me to seek for something else was my lad says, "Dad, why don't you love me?
Wow.
Why don't you love me?" And there's a flicker inside, and I couldn't put my hand on it. And then I started to search for, panicking for help. I was under the mental health, I was on strong drugs, I was having counselling, I was having guys like Gasky and his mates trying to help me out, but nothing could take away the darkness, the bunker that I was stuck in.
One day you were out for a walk, weren't you? Was it about 18 months ago?
Yeah.
Tell the guys about that.
Yeah. My doctor, in his amazing wisdom, he must have been tipped off by the Lord, said to me, "Start walking." And I thought, that's what ramblers do. I'm not a rambler. But anyway, I found a stick, and I looked a bit like Moses, actually. And I started to walk off into the countryside. And I remember this one day, it was in Barrow-on-Soar. I'd been put in temporary accommodation. And I went to the highest point in Barrow. There wasn't any wind, nothing. It was as still as anything. And all of a sudden, the trees bent back. Oh, I'm being attacked by a moth. The trees bent back, and there was this massive wind. And it come from nowhere, and it kind of hit me and took my breath away. And I remembered crying. I thought, what on earth was that? And I think I even did something silly like, "Oh, thank you, Mother Earth," whatever that was. Thank you.
Yeah, just a sense of something.
Yeah.
And then I think Gasky dropped you a phone call.
Yeah. Now, I didn't realise that my mentor, one of my mentors was a Christian, and he said to me, "Did you fancy coming to a curry night?" And after you've had a different flavour pot noodle every night for many months, it was quite appealing.
I mean, they're good, aren't they? They're good, aren't they? But only for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it's proper
months.
man food.
Couple of months.
Right,
Yeah.
but I never used to get the bottom bit right. I always used to get it all clagged up.
Get a bit powdery, don't they?
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
What was your favourite?
Mine was actually the beef.
Oh, I like the
Beef
sweet.
and tomato.
No, I'm a sweet and sour boy.
That was too oriental for me.
Controversial choice. We'll do a top 10 pot noodles next year.
Yeah.
It's coming.
So yeah,
Sorry.
I got invited for this curry night, and I went down, and it was full of all these guys, and I got put opposite this guy called Gerald, who, bless him, he's not here tonight, but he goes to Barrow Church, and Ed and all his team were like there.
Yeah, Ed is Spider-Man
Where is that?
tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, where's Spider-Man Ed?
Yeah.
There's the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all he talked to me all night was about bloody Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I'm nodding my head, but I tell you what started to sell it for me when he offered me a pudding. Right?
I've told the movement this for years. Saturated fat and sugar is a key to success in evangelism to men. That's why we have the food vans.
Quality.
I've said it.
So I've had my pudding, and then you started to talk.
Yeah, bad talk. I was a bit grumpy that night.
You were, weren't you?
I was a bit
You
fed
didn't
up.
want to be there, did you?
No.
A bit like me, really, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a bit miffed, really. A
Yeah.
bit tired. I was all right. I mean, outwardly, I looked half happy.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Which is more than normal.
Yeah.
So that was good.
But anyway, I can't even remember what he said.
No, wasn't that
But-
good? So that's good. I mean, that is just the Lord's grace, really.
Yeah. But whatever he said, all of a sudden, it's as though someone tapped me on the shoulder. And I remembered walking up to
Me.
walking up to you
Yeah.
and saying,
Cold Beach.
sorry. Oh,
Yeah, nice
oh
to
sorry,
meet you.
Carl.
Yeah. It's forgettable talk, forgettable person. I mean, that's what you want, though. Remember the movement, not the leader. That's what you want. That's what they tell you at
Stay
Bible
humble,
college.
yeah?
Yeah, keep you humble.
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, I've walked up to Cole and I've said to him,
My friends call me Beachy. Yeah, Cole. Stick with Cole. Yeah, stick with Cole. That's good. No, come on. No, come on.
so I think I asked you one question, can
Yeah,
Jesus forgive me for what
Yeah.
I've done?
Yeah,
And I don't think you really realised what I meant
yeah.
kind of by that, but you just said one word, yes.
Yeah.
And I walked off.
Yeah, I wanted to finish my Coke, to be honest with you, and go home.
And that's why I don't know him as Beecher.
Yeah. That's a top.
So yeah, I literally went home and I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And then tossed and turned for hours thinking about everything that I'd heard. And then I had this overwhelming sense of get yourself dressed and get yourself straight back down the church. So about 8:30 in the morning, I got myself dressed, and I stood outside this very closed and locked up Baptist church, thinking, what am I doing?
Yeah. And to cut what is an ongoing amazing story short, I think within a very short time of that, you were on your knees, weren't you, or giving your life to Christ?
Yeah, I just knew instantaneously what I had to do. And I was so broken, and I just went straight down on my knees. And when you're that broken and panicking and fearful, and I said, I know I've screwed up, help me.
Yeah.
And I ran out of that church on fire.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Life is looking very different now. Tell the guys the kind of stuff you're up to. Also, tell us about your son. What's happened with you and your son?
Oh, yeah. My son, bless him, who was pushed away many times, about 2 months ago. And I'm sure you dads here will know what this feels like if it's happened to you. But he come up to me one day, he says, Dad, he said, I need to tell you something. I said, what's that, son? He said, how can I deny the existence of God when I've seen the change in you? And I want Jesus in my life. And he gave his life to the Lord.
Amazing. And tell the blokes the sort of thing you're spending your time doing, because it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's been talk about, I mean, my story might sound elaborate, but it ain't, because Jesus was surrounded by extremists. You know, Barabbas, right, was one of them. Simon the Zealot, these guys were all extremists. The Apostle Paul, another extremist. And the most amazing thing happens is because the very two people that the Lord used me to help take them to the Lord, first guy was an Asian. The second guy was a homosexual. The two very peoples that I persecuted, I had the honour to lead to the Lord.
Amazing.
And I've surrounded myself with really amazing people, and Swanee down there, amazing brother of mine, proper disciple of Christ, has helped me, pointed me to find freedom in Christ. And what God's done is, because of obedience, and this is what I love, if you're obedient, if you stand on the truth, God will open doors. I even work, right, going to the Home Office in London, speaking to the government about violent extremism. I go into schools, colleges, universities, talking to youngsters about bullying, hatred, and violent extremism.
You gave a talk on Holocaust Memorial Day, didn't you?
Yeah, I was even asked by the Jewish community to give a talk, ex-neo-Nazi, on violent extremism on their Holocaust Memorial Day. Don't get better
incredible?
than that. Such an honour.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, amazing. And I guess to sum it up, because it's an incredible story, and we're enjoying journeying together a bit, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot more, Chris, as the years roll on. If you could say one thing to the guys, one sentence to the men here tonight, what would you say? I didn't tell you I was going to say that, but I just think it's a good question.
It might be a long sentence. No, it won't. There's no such thing as sitting on the fence. Right? I've experienced the living God. Nothing on this world could ever change me. I've tried everything apart from Jesus Christ. Take it on board. Grab it. It's free. Right? Just do it, guys, because we can come up with a million excuses, and people saying, oh no, you're a Christian, you're weak. Jesus wept. If it's all right for him to weep, it's all right for me to weep. Yeah. Come on. That's it.
Thank you, mate. Thank you,